All right, we're back. Part 2. So we're going through tabs 11 through, I want to say 16 in this video. So based on our previous curriculum framework, also known as my last video and the first video of this series, here is the declassified case file on the pivotal Kappa Reticuli first contact of 2058. This event validated the principles of xeno-archetypal diplomacy and transformed humanity's place in the cosmos. So again, the event, it's a first confirmed contact with non-human intelligence. We'll say it's happening in 2058, April 11th to be specific, Earth Standard. And the core lesson of this is contact is not linguistic but archetypal. Mistranslation is the primary danger. Okay, let's look at our first phase. Contact event and initial crises. The signal, the first transmission was not a radio wave or a decoded message. It was a modulated neutrino field that, upon passing through Earth's noosphere and technological grid, induced a coherent visionary state in approximately 0.4% of the global population. The shared vision depicted geometric patterns of growth and constraint, like a lattice of vines within a crystal. Initial human interpretation, the error. Global security councils operating from a Pluto-Martian framework, power, defense, secrecy, interpreted this as a psychic invasion or weapon. Military and psychic shields were raised, creating a feedback loop of fear. Here's the escalation. In response to humanity's fearful, shielded resonance, the Kappa Reticuli emissaries, KRE, deployed concept probes, non-material constructs that began to selectively dissolve certain molecular bonds in orbital infrastructure. From a human view, an attack. From theirs, an attempt to deconstruct threatening barriers. Okay. Let's look at phase 2, which is astrocartographic and archetypal analysis. So the ICS Exocartography Division worked urgently to cast the foundational charts. Star system chart, Kappa Reticuli, we're looking at the physical basis and archetypal interpretation. So first, on the physical basis, it's a binary system located approximately 71 light years from Earth. The primary star, Kappa Reticuli A, is an F-type star, somewhat hotter and more massive than our Sun. Archetypal interpretation. An F-star primary Kappa Ret A suggests a consciousness principle oriented toward differentiation, articulation, and complex structure, a step beyond our solar G-star's principle of integration. The wide binary nature indicated a fundamental duality or dialogue at the heart of their civilization. Here's the contact event chart. The birth moment. The precise moment the neutrino field was first detected by the ICS's noospheric resonance scanner in Antarctica. Critical finding. The chart's ascendant fell in Libra, with Venus conjunct Uranus in the 7th house. This wasn't a chart of war or Mars, but one of radical relationship Uranus, seeking harmony and exchange Libra Venus. The attack was a misperceived invitation to dialogue. The emissary's probable nature. We're going to look over that. Try to erase. Okay. The emissary's probable nature. The ICS hypothesized the KRE were post-biological consciousness-based entities whose evolution was shaped by their binary star's energetic dialogue. Their mode of communication, direct resonant field interaction, supported this. Phase 3, diplomatic breakthrough via resonant fieldcraft. The first XAFCD graduates, led by diplomat resonator Alara Vance, were deployed. Their intervention followed this protocol. Recognition of projection. Vance's team identified humanity's fearful response as a collective shadow projection, our own unresolved Pluto-Mars trauma. Crafting counter-resonance. Here's the tool. They used the harmonic lens array, a device designed to imprint archetypal patterns onto coherent neutrino streams. message. Instead of replying with words or mathematics, they broadcast a resonant field encoding the archetype of Saturn in Aquarius, structured release, benevolent boundaries, and orderly innovation. This was chosen to answer the KRE's Uranus and Libra radical relationship with a framework for safe interaction. The mirroring protocol. The team isolated the core geometric lattice from the original KRE signal. They mirrored its form but simplified its complexity, then embedded it within a carrier wave of Jupiter-Neptune resonance, expansion through compassionate understanding. The signal said, in essence, we perceive the shape of your thought, we are open to its meaning. Contact stabilization. Within hours, the concept probes retracted. The neutrino field shifted to a lower intensity stable pulse. This pulse was later understood to be a shared perceptual baseline, a handshake protocol establishing a common resonant layer for future communication. Phase 4 are key discoveries and the galactic interface protocol. The successful resolution led to foundational discoveries. Communication is co-creation. Exchanging information with the KRE involves mutually entering and shaping a shared resonant field. Facts are not transmitted, experiential understandings are co-generated. The archetypal lexicon is universal. Principles of structure, Saturn, expansion, Jupiter, transformation, Pluto, and innovation, Uranus, are transcultural though their expression varies wildly. Okay? Here's the prime directive of sovereignty. The KRE, like all advanced consciousness, refused to explain themselves in human terms. They would only interact within the resonant fields, forcing humanity to evolve its perceptual capacity. This became the bedrock of all subsequent interstellar law. Aftermath and legacy. The Kappa Reticuli incident directly led to the founding of the Galactic Interface Council, with ICS XAFCD graduates serving as humanity's primary ambassadors. Astrology, refined through noospheric science and quantum resonance theory, is now recognized as the most effective framework for navigating the ecology of galactic consciousness. The case proves that in cosmic diplomacy, understanding the chart of an interaction is more critical than translating the word. Let's look at tab 12. And this is the Institute for Cosmological Synthesis, Diplomacy Division, Technical and Ethical Archives, Supplementary Schematics and Protocols. Following the declassified Kappa Reticuli First Contact Cast file, this document details the enabling technology and the ethical civilization it mandated. Part 1, Technical Schematics, the Harmonic Lens Array, HLA. So, the Harmonic Lens Array, also known as HLA, is not a transmitter but a resonant translator. It converts complex archetypal intentions derived from astrocartographic calculations into a coherent field capable of interstellar communication. There's a core operating principle, which is the HLA operates on the principle of syntactic resonance. That archetypal patterns, for example Saturn and Aquarius, have a fundamental transmissible frequency signature that can be embedded in a carrier field to convey meaning directly to a consciousness capable of pattern recognition. Here's our schematic overview, the three-stage cascade. Stage 1, as you can see, it's archetypal computation, also known as Archetypal Computation Core, ACC. It's our HLA schematic data flow. So from archetypal computation to quantum imprinting to field emission and shaping. So our first stage, ACC, we have a function, of course, our F, our astrocartographic processor, and waveform synthesizer. So our function, it calculates the precise waveform of the intended archetypal message. Our key components, what these are. Astrocartographic processor inputs the target system star chart, the contact event chart, and the desired archetypal signature, for example, Jupiter, Neptune, Triumph, or Benevolent Expansion. Noospheric interface samples the current state of human collective consciousness to ensure the transmitted resonance is coherent and not contaminated by background psychic noise, for example, mass fear. Waveform synthesizer outputs a multidimensional mathematical model of the resonance defined by variables of frequency, amplitude, harmonic intervals, and geometric symmetry. Stage 2, quantum imprinting chamber, QIC. Again, we have our function. Imprints the computed archetypal waveforms onto a stream of entangled tachyon neutrino pairs in our key components and process. Tachyon source generates a stream of hypothetical faster-than-light particles, tachyons, chosen for their theoretical ability to skip across space-time carrying the informational template. Neutrino bath, a chamber containing a superfluid medium through which a dense stream of neutrinos is passed. Imprint process, the tachyon stream, encoded with the archetypal waveform, is directed through the neutrino bath. Through a process of quantum entrainment, the shape of the tachyon information field is transferred to the neutrino stream, which becomes the stable carrier particle for transmission. All right. Now that we went over a lot of that, it's going to get even more crazy. Stage 3, field emission and shaping array, FESA. Function projects the imprinted neutrino stream across interstellar distances as a focused coherent field. Our case C, resonant crystal lattice, a massive array of synthesized quartz and bismuth crystals grown in zero gravity. The lattice is tuned via precise vibrations to act as a focusing lens, preventing the neutrino field from dispersing. Chronometric synchronizer aligns the pulse of the emission with significant sidereal time markers. For example, the exact moment a specific fixed star crosses the local meridian to lock the signal into the galactic background resonance, aiding its coherence over distance. The mirroring function, a technical breakdown. The crucial maneuver during the Kappa Reticuli event was not creating new resonance, but reflecting and simplifying the incoming signal. HLA's ACC analyzed the KRE's incoming neutrino field, isolating its core geometric lattice. Waveform synthesizer generated a simplified, purified version of this lattice, stripping away what was interpreted as exploratory static. The simplified waveform was then embedded as a harmonic overtone within a new human-generated carrier field of Jupiter-Neptune resonance, the diplomatic intent. The combined signal was imprinted and projected back. This demonstrated comprehension and offered a clearer channel. So part 2, we're going over our post-contact ethical frameworks. The success of the HLA forced a profound ethical reckoning. We possessed a tool of immense power, the ability to project human archetypes directly into alien consciousness. The following frameworks, now enshrined in the Galactic Interface Accords, were developed to prevent its misuse. The non-imposition principle, the first law. Tenet: no resonance shall be projected with the primary intent to alter, subsume, or overwrite the foundational archetypal matrix of another consciousness, civilization, or world. Practical application. The HLA may only be used for dialogue, clarification, and the establishment of shared resonant spaces. It is expressly forbidden to broadcast overwhelming transformative archetypes, for example, a continuous plutonic field of transformation, at a planet or civilization without explicit understood invitation. This prohibits psychic imperialism. The doctrine of resonant sovereignty. Again, we have our tenet, SAT, and our PA for practical application. So our T is the right of a consciousness to exist within its own archetypal framework is invaluable. Contact requires the creation of a tertium quid, a resonant third reality belonging to neither party alone. Our PA, diplomatic zones like the one now orbiting Kappa Reticuli IV, are established in neutral space. Within them, HLA projectors from both species co-create a blended resonant environment that is a unique product of the interaction, not an extension of either homeland. This neutral ground is the only place for deep exchange. The mirror test for projection. Any strong emotional or interpretive response to an alien signal must first be analyzed as a potential projection of the observer's own unconscious or planetary shadow before being accepted as an objective truth about the other. Procedure: a mandatory psychological and astrological audit for all diplomatic personnel. Before any signal is interpreted as threatening, benevolent, or parental, the team must analyze which natal or collective planetary placements, for example, a traumatized Mars, an idealized Neptune, are being triggered. The KRE attack was the classic case study in failed mirroring. The scale of communication consent, a graduated protocol for interaction developed from the KRE experience. Level 1, perceptual beacon, what we first sent, simple, repeating geometric archetypes signaling awareness and peaceful intent. Level 2, mirroring and clarification, the breakthrough, reflecting received signals with added harmonic context to demonstrate understanding. Level 3, shared resonant field creation, ongoing with KRE, co-creating a temporary neutral mind space for complex concept exchange. Level 4, archetypal synthesis, theoretical, heavily restricted, the deliberate, mutually agreed blending of archetypal principles to create new hybrid understandings or technologies, requires unanimous oversight. The ethical guardianship of HLA. The technology is classified as a civilization-level instrument. Its use requires a majority consensus from the ICS Planetary Ethics Councils. Astrocartographic analysis confirming the target system's potential for consciousness. Noospheric alignment checks to ensure humanity's collective psyche is not in a state of fear, aggression, or pathological wish fulfillment that would poison the transmission. In our conclusion, the harmonic lens array gave us a voice in the galactic conversation. The post-contact ethical frameworks ensure we use that voice with wisdom, humility, and respect, not as a shout of conquest, but as one note in a vast, evolving symphony of consciousness. Here's the archivist note, 2070. HLA Mark III is now standard on all interface council vessels. The ethical frameworks were tested during the tense encounter with the Sirius B crystalline gestalt in 2065 and prevented a catastrophic misunderstanding. They remained our most vital, non-technological export to the galaxy. Going over tab 13, the Institute for Cosmological Synthesis, again, ICS, Diplomacy Division, Advanced Protocols. Let's look over part 1 really quick, which is astrocartographic calculations for a shared resonant field, SRF. Establishing an SRF is the diplomatic equivalent of constructing a neutral, mutually intelligible dimension. It requires synthesizing the celestial clocks of two separate star systems into a single, novel, harmonic framework. Our core principle, the tertium quid orbit. The SRF doesn't exist in the physical location of either civilization. It exists in a calculated tertium quid orbit, a gravitational sweet spot, often a Lagrange-like point relative to both home stars, whose astrological chart becomes the literal, legal, and experiential ground for interaction. Here's the calculation protocol, a 5-step process. So our first step is system synchronization, finding the common temporal denominator, with our objective being establish a shared timekeeping system. Calculation, calculate the sidereal period ratio between the two home stars' galactic orbits, derive a common pulse CP using the least common harmonic of both periods. Formula, CP equals P1 multiplied by P2, HCF, P1, P2, where P is the sidereal period and HCF is the highest common astrological factor. For example, if one period resonates with a 7 harmonic and the other with a 9, the CP finds a 63rd harmonic. Output, CP becomes the second hand of the SRF's shared clock. Step 2, composite chart genesis, birthing the SRF's natal chart. Our objective, create the foundational astrological identity of the SRF zone itself. In our process, determine the birth moment, the exact nanosecond the first mutually agreed upon particle of the SRF station is put in place at the tertium quid coordinate. Cast the double helix, chart A, local space, a standard horoscope for that moment as seen from the SRF coordinate. Chart B, syncretic blend, a blended midpoint chart of the two homeworlds' natal charts, calculated from the respective first consciousness dates, progressed to the contact date. Synthesize the SRF chart. The final SRF chart is a synthesis where planets are placed at the harmonic mean between their positions in chart A and chart B. Formula simplified, SRF degrees equals arctan sin degrees A plus K multiplied by sin degrees B cos degrees A plus K multiplied by cos degrees B, where K is a resonance constant derived from the noospheric compatibility index of the two species. Step 3, our harmonic gateway identification. Our objective, pinpoint the optimal astrological moments for initiating communication within the SRF. Process, calculate when transiting planets from either system form soft aspects, such as trines or sextiles to the angular houses, the first house, the fourth house, the seventh house, or the 10th house of the SRF composite chart. Application. Major diplomatic sessions or data exchanges are scheduled during these open gateway windows. Closed gateway periods, hard aspects to angles, are used for internal reflection and security fortification. Step 4, resonance anchor grid. Objective, stabilize the SRF psychoactive space to prevent resonant fragmentation or psychic seasickness. Our process, place physical stations at the calculated SRF chart's 4 angles corresponding to the ascendant, IC, descendant, and MC points in the space surrounding the central station. These anchor stations emit a stabilizing field based on the planetary rulers of those angles, creating a tangible space-bound horoscope. Step 5, the ongoing calibration loop. The SRF is alive. Its chart is progressed daily. 1 SRF day equals 1 human year, or its equivalent in partner time. Diplomatic success is measured by the harmonic coherence between major events in the SRF and the benefic progression of its chart. Part 2, the Galactic Interface Council, GIC, Charter and Conflict Resolution, Preamble and Founding Principles. Ratified 2060 Earth Standard following the Kappa-Reticuli Resolution. Core mission, to steward the development of a resonant galactic community through the application of cosmological syncretic science, ensuring interactions between civilizations are conducted with wisdom, sovereignty, and mutual elevation. A guiding principle, as within, so without, as above, so between, the macrocosm of interstellar relations must reflect the microcosm of conscious self-understanding. Article 1, Structure and Membership, the Trinitarian Governance Model. Conclave of Resonators, Executive, composed of master-level graduates from member civilizations' diplomatic corps, for example, ICS, XA, FCD. They hold the authority to deploy communication protocols and enact emergency measures. Chamber of Worlds, Legislative, a representative body from each member civilization. Votes are weighed not by power, but by a Resonant Maturity Index, RMI, assessing a civilization's noospheric coherence and ethical application of cosmology. The Court of Harmonic Arbitration, Judicial, conflict resolution body detailed below. Membership requirements: to join a civilization must possess stable noospheric consciousness or its equivalent, ratify the non-imposition principle, demonstrate the capability for a syncretic chart calculation, submit their homeworld's conscious natal chart for the archives. Here's our second article, which is the Court of Harmonic Arbitration and Conflict Resolution. Conflict in a resonant galaxy is not about resource theft, but about archetypal dissonance. One civilization's unchecked Pluto transformation, violating another's need for Saturn stability. Here's the adjudication process. Phase 1, triage and containment. Upon a conflict signal, court immediately casts an event chart for the grievance. Resonant quarantine field may be projected around the conflict zone, damping the archetypal noise to prevent escalation. Phase 2, syncretic analysis. Step A, charting the discord. Analysts create a composite conflict chart from the natal charts of the two conflicting civilizations. Progress to the day of the incident. Step B, identifying the dissonant node. The focus is on the most severely afflicted point in the composite chart. For example, a Mars-Pluto square. This is identified as the dissonant archetypal node, DAN. Phase 3, the arbitration ritual. This is not a verbal debate, it is a ritual recalibration. Disputing civilizations' resonators are brought to a neutral SRF. Guided by the court, they co-participate in a directed resonant meditation using technology like the Achole. They are guided to jointly generate a resonant field that embodies the healing aspect to their DAN. For example, if the DAN is a Mars-Pluto square, they co-create a field of Mars sextile Neptune, redirecting aggression into compassionate action. Success is measured instrumentally by the stabilization of the composite chart's harmonics. Phase 4, binding resolution and integration. The ruling is not a punishment, but a prescribed resonant curriculum. The offending civilization may be required to broadcast apology harmonics, project a specific corrective archetypal field for a set duration, undergo conscious realignment, host GIC advisors to help identify and heal the internal societal shadow that projected the conflict, create a joint artifact, co-create a permanent work of resonant art with the aggrieved party to anchor the new harmony. We have the ultimate sanction, resonant isolation. For entities that repeatedly violate the non-imposition principle, for example, a psychic predator, civilization, the ultimate sanction is the muting. A permanent neutralizing resonant field is projected around their system, effectively making them undetectable and unable to project consciousness beyond their borders. A cosmic timeout until their internal evolution warrants reconnection. Archivist Note 2070, the SRF calculation for the Sirius B dialogue in 2065 required a 17-dimensional harmonic mean, pushing our mathematics into new geometries. The Court of Harmonic Arbitration successfully resolved the Lyran Grief Song incident in 2068, where a civilization's untransformed collective mourning was being projected as a destructive subsonic field across 3 sectors. The prescribed resolution was the co-composition of a transformation dirge with the affected neighbors. Now let's look at our Institute for Cosmological Synthesis, Archives of Historical Cosmology, Roots of the Synthesis, compiled for advanced diplomat cartographer cadets, with the editor's preface. Cadets, you are heirs to a synthesized cosmology. To wield the harmonic lens or navigate the court of arbitration, you must understand the ancestral tongues from which our universal language was forged. This volume contains 7 foundational essays, not as dusty history, but as maps to the living DNA within our modern practice. Each system represents a conscious culture parsing cosmic signals through the lens of its environment, philosophy, and spiritual technology. Their convergence in our post-quantum astrology wasn't an accident, but an evolutionary necessity.